Good rising, brethren. This is Big Judah coming to you guys from California. Before I begin, give all praise to the Most High Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother. Who is wisdom? Who is the Holy Spirit? Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. I pray the Most High blesses this lesson this evening, gives us more knowledge and understanding of the events of the past, in order to understand events that are currently happening on the earth, so we get a much better understanding of the things that are soon to come on the earth. Brethren, we get into some really deep information, and we're going to show you how the Most High is bringing many of the topics and the information that He has been giving us. He's bringing it all together. He's given us back our knowledge, given us back our traditions, all these things that have been hidden from us. The Most High is working to restore back to His people. And something that I wanted to kind of touch on before we get into the video is that, everyone has free agency. Everyone has the opportunity to study and research for themselves. They have the opportunity and also have the responsibility to do so. See, for so long, we have been only given one point of view. And it's pretty much, we've been taught that this is the only point of view, and this is all the information that there is, and there's nothing else. That's how society, churches, and these religions have been running this whole time. All these, religions are all connected. They all come from the one church, from the Catholic Church. They're all just offshoots of that. But we're going to start to get into some information about what was the mindset, what was the religious philosophy, what was the religious thinking before the Catholic Church was raised up into its position of power. Those are the kinds of things that we're going to be starting to get into. And Most High is going to be connecting a lot of this information. I see why the book we're going to get into right now wasn't released to us until now, because we had to get more understanding about the Druids, about Britain, about the Gauls, right? About all these, about the Americas, about who populated these lands before, about who were the people that were there before, these people tried to hide the original people. Why are they hiding this information? What kind of technological advances were there before the Europeans showed up here in the Americas? What kind of technological, advances were there in Britain and Ireland? Who were the people that were there before, the so-called Europeans that are there now? You got to understand, like, a lot of people go to these different lands and they assume the identities of the people that were originally there. But we're never told that. So therefore, we just assume that the people that are showing us there today have always been there. And that's not the case. So that's why the Most High had to, give us a little bit here, a little bit there, in order for us to be able to, get through this new information and be able to piece things together. What we have to understand is that our information, when it talks about in the Bible, in Isaiah, it talks about how here a little, there a little. It was not just talking about the Bible. It was talking about information from all over the world. All these religions that are here today have a little bit of our information. Many of the traditions in these religions, some of them are our traditions. Some of them are their traditions. But they all take a little bit of our, information, and they just implement it. But now the Most High is giving us back this information and understanding, and now it's time for us to give an alternative. And everyone has their free agency. I've never told people, hey, follow my channel, follow me, I'm the only way. I've never said anything like that, because everyone has free agency and everyone has a responsibility to study for themselves. Everyone needs to work out their own salvation with fear and trembling. But many churches have always made it, they've set everything up to be like, you have to do what we say. You have to understand everything the way that we tell you. And if you go off, if you think of anything different, you're going to hell. They use fear tactics. They don't want you to study. They don't want you to think for yourself. They want to do all the thinking for you. And that's exactly what has been happening. But here you have the responsibility to study for yourself. The Most High is giving you more information, more books, more understanding. He's releasing the Holy Spirit to the ones that are seeking. So if you're seeking the Most High and you're calling for Him, you're calling for Him to send you the Holy Spirit, and He wants you, He will send the Holy Spirit to you. He will guide you to the truth. So take this new information, process it, pray about it, and see if it goes with your spirit. If not, leave it alone and keep it moving. Here we go. We're going to be getting into this book right here. It's called The Secret Doctrine, The Synthesis, Science, Religion, and Philosophy by H.P. Blavatsky. There is no religion higher than truth. This is a volume 2, okay, from 1888. Okay. Now we're going to be starting off, let's see here. The paragraph right there by the red. The mystery veiling the origin and the religion of the Druids. Now we already know the Druids were talking about the Israelites. And we'll talk about that from, we got that connection from Acts 29. And we'll touch on that, but there's other videos on that and you can do your own research. But in Acts 29, Paul goes to Britain and he meets with the Druids, and they actually realize that those Druids are actually the Levites. And that was taken out of the Bible because they never want you to realize that, these great Druids that you've heard about, these powerful Druids that you've heard about, were actually Israelites. They're actually part of the priests of the Israelites. And they didn't want you to make that connection. But there's more connections to be made right here. Okay? So again, the mystery veiling the origin and the religion of the Druids is as great as that of their supposed fanes is to the modern symbologist, but not to the initiated occultists. Their priests were the descendants of the last Atlanteans, and what is known of them is sufficient to allow the inference that they were Eastern priests akin to the Chaldeans and Indians, though little more. Okay, so they're making these connections now between the Druids and the Atlanteans, okay, and the Chaldeans. And I was actually going to put some more information here about that we had from Brother Kudomeo and Ur of the Chaldees, and we'll probably do that in another video because I don't want to make this video too long with too much information. But when we start making more of those connections about the Chaldees, Ur of the Chaldees being in Ireland, okay, and there's a whole lot of information that we can get into, okay. So we got that they were Eastern priests akin to the Chaldeans and Indians, though little more. It may be inferred that they symbolized their deity as the Hindus do their Vishnu, as the Egyptians did their mystery god, and as the builders of the Ohio great serpent mound worshippers theirs. So they're making all these connections between the Americas, the Egyptians, the Hindus, and the Druids. They're all doing the same types of things. So just showing you that the Israelites were all over the world, not just in one place. Okay? And I was going to give you more information about that in a minute. So again, and as the builders of the Ohio Great Serpent Mound worship theirs. Okay? Let's see here. Namely under the form of the mighty serpent. Okay? The emblem of the eternal deity, time, the Hindu Kala. Pliny called them, the Magi of the Gauls and Britons. But they were more than that. The author of Indian Antiquities finds much affinity between the Druids and the Brahmins of India. Now we're going to make some connections in a little bit. Check this out. We're going to make some other connections, but you got the Druids and the Brahmins of India. And see, they're always trying to make it seem like, the East Indians are showing you today were the ones that have always been there. But this is letting you know right now, we know who the Druids were. The Druids were the Israelites. And now they're showing you how the Druids and the Brahmins, of India were also the same. So see, they're always, it could be anybody, but it can't be you. So they'll put people in our lands and say those are the ones that had this information before. But we know that the whole imposters, the whole thing about taking over someone's identity was a worldwide thing. That's why it's Psalms 83. It's a confederacy. It's many different types of people that have all taken part in the confederacy to hide who we are. Okay, so again, the author of Indian Antiquities finds much affinity between the Druids and the Brahmins of India. Dr. Borlase points to a close analogy between them and the Magi of Persia. Others will see an identity between them and the Orphic priesthood of Thrace, simply because they were connected in their esoteric teachings with the universal wisdom, religion, and thus presented affinities with the exoteric worship of all. So see, this is why they don't want you to get into the whole esoteric, understanding, because then you're going to realize that many different areas had the same esoteric or hidden understanding or hidden knowledge. They don't, like I said, these themes, of this esoteric knowledge were all over the place because our priests went all over the world teaching this information. So check this out. Like the Hindus, the Greeks and Romans, we speak of the initiates. Now, see, this is like, it's letting you know that the Greeks and the Romans did not originate. We're not the originators of this information. They just came later and were taught. They were initiates. They learned it from the original. But society has put the Greeks up and the Romans up as if they were the ones that were the originators of this information. And that's not true. And they're letting you know that right now. Like the Hindus, you should have skipped that middle part, the Chaldees and the Egyptians. So those were the ones, the Hindus, Chaldees, and Egyptians were, the Druids believed in the doctrine of a succession of worlds. They just throw that whole thing with the Greeks and the Romans, we speak of as initiates. They just learned this. They just learned this from these people. The Druids, the Egyptians, the Chaldees, the Hindus, those were the ones that had this information. And we know that the Egyptians learned it from Abraham. Okay? All right, so the Druids believed in the doctrine of a succession of worlds, as also in that of 7 creations, of new continents and transformations of the face of the earth, and in a 7-fold night and day for each earth or globe. See esoteric Buddhism. Wherever the serpent with the egg is found, there is Tenet was surely present. The Dragontia are a proof of it. This belief was so universal that if we seek for it in the esotericism of various religions, we shall discover it in all. That's the thing. If you start looking for this information, you're going to find it, these esoteric understandings in these religions. It might not be out there in the open and most people won't see it or won't understand it, but it's there. We shall find it among the Aryan Hindus of Mazdaeans, the Greeks, the Latins, and even among the old Jews and early Christians. And I think that was it for that. Yeah, that's it for that for today. But real quick, the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 29, you can look this up. The Bible gives a fairly complete account of the life of St. Paul, his conversion, his missionary journeys, and his martyrdom in Rome. But there was a period of time, approximately 6 years, of which the Bible remains silent. This would be the period after his trial and acquittal in Rome and before his return to Rome, to cast his fate with his many converts. These were his Christian brethren. Who were being put to death by the thousands during the reign of Emperor Nero. And Acts 29 is actually in the Sefer Bible. We already know that. Okay, but if you were looking for it, it's actually in the Sefer Bible, along with other books that were also taken out by the church. Okay, and one part I just wanted to show you was verse 13. And it came to pass that certain of the Druids came unto Paul privately, and showed by their rites and ceremonies they were descended from the Jews, which escaped from bondage in the land of Egypt. And the apostle believed these things, and he gave them the kiss of peace. Okay? They don't want you to make the connection between the Israelites and the Druids. They were a powerful sect, a powerful group that gave Rome hell. And they don't want you to realize that those were actually Israelites that the Romans were going against, and that eventually the Romans would destroy. Okay? If you want more, just look it up. You can do your own research. Like I said, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Look at the alternative to what you've been told. This is so much information that has been hidden from you. And as you can see, these Druids right here are being connected, okay, to the East Indians, the Hindus. Okay? Now, there's more coming. Check this out. Now we're going to take a look here at page 213. We've heard of like the Nagas before, right? But check this part out. You remember, well, hold on, let's read this part first. But as the Nagals, okay, and Nargals, whence came the similarity of names between the Indian Nagas and the American Nagals. Now, check this out. You got Indian, or I'm assuming here the East Indian Nagas and the American Nagals. So you got almost the same spelling, but a little bit different. But it's letting you know that there's a huge similarity between what you would call East Indian or the Hindus and the American Nagas. Okay, check this part out. The Nargal, okay, was the Chaldean and Assyrian chief of the Magi. And the Nagal was the chief sorcerer of the Mexican Indians. Now, see, they throw their names into the mix to throw you off. They're throwing their names. So you think of the Mexicans that you see today as the ones that have always been there, and that's who they're referring to. Like that's what they do. And then you think of the East Indians that were already there, okay? And those are the ones they're talking about. And we're going to show you some pictures of what the original people look like, okay? Like I said, in all these groups, you're going to have Israelites in all walks of life. You're going to have Israelites that look like the other nations because we're mixed, okay? How you tell now, okay, is through the Spirit. Is the Most High calling you? Is the Most High calling you to this information? Is the Most High blessing you with knowledge and understanding? Okay? Gentiles, you have an opportunity. You've been lied to also. So the Most High is giving you an opportunity to hear this truth. If the Most High is talking to you, giving you this knowledge, giving you an opportunity to see this truth, to accept this truth, that means the Most High is calling you as well. This is the opportunity to get the alternative to what the churches have been giving you this whole time. The true Israelites are going to be a light to the entire world. They're going to be used to bring knowledge and understanding to the entire world. Now, whoever accepts it, that is between those people and the Most High. That's what I say. You have your free agency. This is where your free agency comes in. You have the opportunity to accept it or reject it and keep it moving. We're not going to be like a church and say, oh man, if you don't accept what we're telling you, you're going to go to hell, trying to scare you into accepting it. This is not that kind of a game. This is not that kind of a party. This is this information. Go research it for yourself. If you're really serious, if you really want to know, you will spend the time. You will chase the Father. You will develop a relationship with the Most High. You will develop a relationship with the Holy Spirit. This is on you. Now check this out. Again, the Nargle was the Chaldean and Assyrian chief of the Magi. Okay? And the Nagal was the chief sorcerer of the Mexican Indians. You know, like they would throw the word magic, sorcerers, and all that. You know, always trying to throw in that, oh, that's evil, that's okay. Y'all can do that. It doesn't matter. Okay, but check it out. Okay, both derive their names from Nargal Serezer, the Assyrian god, and the Hindu Nagas. Both have the same faculties and the power to have an attendant daemon or a spirit, okay, with whom they identify themselves, okay, completely. The Chaldean and Assyrian Nargal kept his daemon or spirit in the shape of some animal considered sacred inside the temple. The Indian Nagal keeps his wherever he can, in the neighboring lake or wood, or in the house in the shape of some household animal. Okay? Now, what are the odds? This is how the Most High makes them tell on themselves. When Columbus got here, what did he call the people that were here? He called them what? And they still call them this today. Indians. Because supposedly, he didn't know, he thought he was in India. Now, we already know from the other books that I've read, from, the prophecies of Columbus, in his own words, he knew he was coming, okay, to destroy the 10 tribes. He knew exactly where he was going. So he was not, he didn't think mistakenly that he was in India. But he called these people Indians. So so then that must mean that they must share the same practices as these Hindu Indians. There must be some type of similarities between the Indians here and the Indians over there in India. So for all this time, they've been telling you that there's a connection between the inhabitants here in these lands in the Americas and the ones over there in India. They've been telling you that just by their names alone. They didn't give you any other information about it. They didn't tell. So behind the closed doors, they're just laughing because people have assumed these identities, these proverbs that these other nations have given us, and people have so much pride in these bywords that you've been called. But if you look right here, it's telling you that yes, there was a huge similarity between the two. They did almost exactly the same thing. They almost had exactly the same beliefs because they were the same people. Columbus knew he was not in India. He knew he came to the fourth part. That was part of the prophecy that he was fulfilling, and he knew that. He was coming to the lands that they knew about. They knew the 10 tribes were over here. They knew it was the Holy Land. They knew it was the best lands. They were not allowed to come over here until 1492. This was their opportunity to get at the 10 tribes and to destroy them the way it said it was going to happen in the scriptures. They knew it. So that was just another lie to throw people off. And this is confirming that what you're seeing with the Hindus, because they always talk about how the Hindus have the purest religion, they have the most information, but come to find out that these Hindus that they keep calling Hindus were actually Israelites. And they shared many of the same practices that the 10 tribes had over here. And what they did to demonize many of these things that the Hebrews were doing, they just changed it from spirits to demons to magic to sorcery, in order to demonize it, in order to be able to persecute the ones that were doing it. But then once they got their opportunity to rule and reign the church, they started, trying to do exactly the same kinds of things. They started to finally get their hands on the records, and they were starting to delve into these different practices, but on the left-hand side. So again, the Nargal was the Chaldean, and Assyrian chief of the Magi. And we know that we talk about the Chaldees. They told you that it's in a certain area, but they can't prove it. Those are from the videos about the Ur of the Chaldees. Go back and check those videos out. But we'll do some other ones getting into that again. And they're showing all this information that point to actually Ur and the Chaldees being in Ireland. And it would make more sense because now we know that the Druids, which were in Ireland, okay, were actually these people who lived on these islands. So I said all this information is now the Most High is making it all connect. So our people were the Druids. Our people were what you would call right now the Americans, Amaru-Khans, as my brother, Kudame will be talking about. Now we got the connection with the Brahmins and the Hindus as well. See how the Most High is bringing all this information full circle. Our beliefs were in all these different religions. All these different religions have taken a little piece of our beliefs and taken it for themselves and lifted themselves up. That's why, no one stands up with us because they're all guilty. No one says anything because they've all been confederate against us because they've all gotten a piece of the pie. But they laugh at us because they know that they've got our information, but they just can't tell it to us. But that's okay. That's why we have to depend on the Most High. And I have the utmost confidence that the Father is leading us back to all this information. So again, but as the Nagals and Nargals, whence came in the similarity of names between the Indian Nagas and the American Nagals, okay, the Nargal was the Chaldean and the Assyrian chief of the Magi, and the Nagal was the chief sorcerer of the Mexican Indians. Both derive their names from Nergal-Sarezer, the Assyrian god, and the Hindu Nagas, but have the same faculties and the power to have an attendant daemon, okay, with whom they identify themselves completely. The Chaldean and Assyrian Nargal kept his daemon in the shape of some animal considered sacred inside the temple. Okay, the Indian Nagal keeps his wherever he can in the neighboring lake or wood or in the house in the shape of some household animal. So we're gonna be getting into some serious stuff. Like I said, these brothers had power because they were dealing with the spirit world. And what you understand, like I said, the things that are invisible is really what's I would say ruling the earth. But many of the things that we don't see is what's really ruling the earth. There was a great thing I read, and it was talking about how, like, you look in the sky and you see the clouds. You can see the clouds, but what moves the clouds? The wind. The wind you don't see, but the wind is what moves the clouds from place to place. Same thing's happening with us as people. You see us, you see the carnal people, but you don't see the spirits that are moving and manipulating events. That's what's, making things happen in this reality. The things that we don't see. And if you concentrate on this reality, you are totally disconnected to the spirit world. You don't realize how much these spirits are playing a part in our reality. And they like it like that. They don't want you to realize how much the spirit world is really controlling the things that are happening here. Like Paul said, what is it? We're contesting with like principalities. And that's exactly what it is. But they don't want you to realize that. Okay? So check this out. See, now it starts to make sense. These are the people that they were seeing the Spanish when they got here. These are the people that they were seeing. Okay? Talking about Atlantis, and we're going to get into that as well. It says, without Atlantis, how can we explain the fact that the early Egyptians were depicted by themselves as red men on their own monuments? And on the other hand, how can we account for the representations of Negroes on the monuments of Central America? Desiree Charnay, now engaged in exploring those monuments, has published in the North American Review for December 1880 photographs of a number of idols exhumed at San Juan de Teotihuacan, from which I select the following strikingly negroid faces. These were the faces, okay, that Columbus saw when he got here, and he was calling them Indians, just like the ones that were over in India. Now you see the connection between the American Indians, they want to say the Mexican sorcerers, okay, but the people that were here, he was seen originally looked like Negroes. You see, and you get later versions of this book, Atlantis, the Antediluvian World, they took all this information out because that's what they've been trying to hide. That the Indians that they're talking about weren't the ones they're showing you right now. But the Most High is going to bring all that information back out. And these are from my brother, Kurameo. He just put up this video, like I said, just the timing. The Amaru-Khans, ancient artisans, master builders. Take a look at what he's showing you right here. Like I said, not all of the natives are going to look like this. Because like I said, I talked about this, how black people, our genes are dominant. White genes are recessive. Two white people can only make a white person. Black people can make all shades of people, from light to dark. So our people are going to look different. But society now has taken us as the darker people, and just given us a totally different, what is it? Just a totally different history. Okay, they said that we're all from Africa. We were never here. We don't have any roots here. So they can give our lands and our inheritances to other people. And other people have taken that, and run with it. But now the Most High is going to expose them. So scientifically, it's just, like I said, just impossible. You're seeing now that the Negroes were here. If Negroes are here, that means that we were already here. We were going to have many different people, many different shades of people. But they're trying to hide that. They're trying to hide the fact that the Most High gave us these lands, that these lands are ours. But it doesn't matter what they say or what they hide. What matters is what the Most High says. And if he says that he's going to restore his people and restore their inheritance, then that's exactly what's going to happen. Okay? So this is like I said, beautiful time. You check out, you can see, like I said, the pictures. The brother Kurameo is put up right here. You can check out that video yourself. There's some older pictures here that he shared from another video. Okay? This is a representation of the different people from the four parts. But the one standing up right here, this guy right here, he represents America right here, what the Americans look like. This guy right here to the left represents what the Africans look like. And I want to say the bottom here is what the Europeans look like. And I want to say the Asians were to the right there in the blue coat. So this is what Columbus saw. These are the pictures they have in these churches in Europe. They knew what the Americans looked like. And they looked like the guy standing right here in the red. That's what American, Central American, Mexican, Indian, Amaru-Khan was going to look like. So then you can connect them with the Druids. Now you can connect them with the Hindus. Like I said, the Most High is going to bring all this information back. Right there. So it says if you're African to the left, American right there in the middle, standing right here, right here, Europe bottom, Asia right. African to the left, American standing up, European at that time to the bottom left, Asian to the right. Right here, same thing. And then on the left hand side, got like he'll hold an apple. That would be what the American look like. The woman out there in the red, I think to the left, is going to be what the European look like. The one on the right there, the darker one, it's like a with the gray hair looks like. That would be the African. Okay, and to the right would be the Asian. That's what's in these churches from a long time ago. They knew exactly who was where. So you say you got these similarities because they're the same people. Our people were all over the place. Right there again is going to be the American. There's bow and arrow right there. So I think the Most High that He has Brother Kurameo bringing out videos like this and bringing out information like this. Like I said, how he brings all this information together. He said they've been telling you when they say, oh, every time they call you an Indian, and well, he did just call you that because he didn't know where he was at. Now we got those. Christopher Columbus, Book of Prophecies, knows exactly where he was going. Knew that he was being led over here. He knew exactly who he was looking for. If he's seen, if he saw these East Indians, he knew exactly what he was looking for. If he knew what the Druids looked like, he knew what he was coming to see. He just named them Indians, just like, oh, I didn't know I was in it. Yeah, you knew exactly where you were. So that won't work no more. That's not going to fly anymore. He says this is prophecy right now is being fulfilled. Jeremiah 17:4. Just showing you what we've been going by bywords. See, these are all the prophecies that the churches don't talk about. They don't talk about a people losing their heritage, losing all their knowledge, understanding who they are. They don't talk about any of that. Act like this stuff isn't even in the Bible. They act like it's not even in the Bible. They haven't tried to explain it because they know that they can't. They can't open that can of worms because if they do, they're going to be exposed as a bunch of liars because they've only concentrated on little parts of the Bible that support their dogma, and they've ignored all this other information. Like I said, you're trying to tell me that the largest genocide of a people was not talked about in the Bible? The largest genocide would be the Europeans coming over here to the Americas and killing and destroying people for 500 plus years. And you're trying to say that God didn't know about that? That's kind of blindside the Most High? He didn't know that was going to happen? Of course he knew. He ordained it. That was our punishment. But our punishment is now coming to an end. And now the restoration is happening. And then people don't want to talk about that. Look at Jeremiah 17:4. And thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thine heritage. Okay, that I gave thee. So what the Most High gave us, the heritage the Most High gave us, we were going to discontinue from. Our knowledge, our understanding, our connection to the Most High, our connection to the Holy Spirit, our connection to the spirit world, our connection to the angels, all that was going to be taken away from us. And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever. Our people were moved all over the world in slavery. Some were here, moved to different areas in the Americas. Some were taken into Europe. Some were taken, into Asia. Some were taken into all these different areas. That was all part of the prophecy. Hosea 4:6. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee. Okay, that thou shalt be no priest to me. We lost our priesthood. We lost our knowledge. We lost our rank. We lost our power. That was all of that. All because we did not follow the Most High. We did not do what we were supposed to do. But now the Most High, after we serve our punishment, is going to restore his people. And that's exactly what you're seeing right now. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God. I will also forget thy children. And this was something that was going to go down, from generation to generation. He turned his face away from us. He turned his face away from our children, and they had to go through all of this destruction. But he said he was going to restore us, and that's exactly what he is doing right now. He is restoring us as a people, giving us back our positions as priests, kings and queens and princes and princesses. He's working to restore all of that. Okay? Isaiah 14:1. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them, and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord, for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. And it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow, and from thy fear, and from the hard bondage wherein thou wast made to serve, that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon. I'm going to stop it right there. So you can see the Most High is restoring us, and he's making these connections once again. Like I said, we are much bigger than anything that we have been told. And now the Most High is restoring his people, and it's an absolutely beautiful thing. All praise is the Most High, Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother. Who is wisdom? Who is the Holy Spirit? Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. Shalom.